Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Fucking Business with your host, Jeffrey Prince.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, coming to you, as always, from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast, brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project, as well as DraftKings. We thank them for their sponsorship. As always, you can check them out at thebamboozleproject.com. Go through the site, see everything you want to see, and use promo code MYPB at checkout. And when you do so, you'll see a nice deduction on your total cost of your order. We thank DraftKings for their sponsorship as well. This is episode 182, Ciento Ochenta y Dos. If you're joining us on the SAP features available to you this morning or this evening, whenever you're streaming the show, we welcome you. And we are taping this show, speaking of timestamps and dates, we are taping the show on Wednesday morning, January 15th. So everything that we talk about is current through there. You can send us your questions at any time at mypbshow@gmail.com, or you could do what most of you do, which is utilize our Instagram page for DM. We do respond to every single one. I promise you that we do. And you can do that at Mind Your Fucking Business. All one word.
Bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
And you can listen to the show at any time. Live this morning, we are on Instagram, and live this morning, we are also on YouTube. So we're there for you there. Or you can stream the podcast at your convenience, at your luxury, whenever is good for you. You can listen to it on Spotify or iTunes. Did I go through everything?
Absolutely.
Cool.
There's one thing that you have not gone through yet that everyone out there in the interwebs should do today.
Which is what?
Wish you a happy birthday.
It was yesterday, yes. Now, you should know, true story, that the we could look historically on this because it's got to be a stat.
This isn't
the
your
Rangers
first
birthday? The Rangers do not play well on my birthday ever.
Okay.
Ever. And actually, 4 years ago, on my birthday, the Rangers opened up their season of like the COVID season versus the Islanders. It was a Thursday, right? And this was the time we were all at home doing our thing. And I was so psyched, like Jess and the kids, we were home and we had like real hockey coming back. It was a Thursday night game versus the Islanders at home. We made like a really good dinner, like birthday dinner / opening night, ready to go. And the Rangers got annihilated. This was 4 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. So ever since then, the Rangers are tarnished on my birthday.
Wow.
So you knew they were going to lose last night. But we will get to that in a little bit. So thank you for the birthday wishes, all of you. I appreciate it. But as you get older, you don't really want to, talk about it or acknowledge it. So last week we were on Wednesday, and the night before was what I would call, putting it nicely, the Kreider Miller episode, right? You had the game. Kreider Miller turns the puck over. The Rangers go on to lose in overtime. And the Rangers at that point had been doing better. Now, better can mean a lot of things, right? Because the Rangers have been so bad for so long that to say they're better doesn't mean they're great. They're just not terrible, right? And we said they had the Devils coming in the next night, and that the Devils' speed has given them fits all the time. And you also then had a road trip where you were going to Vegas on Saturday, and Vegas is the best team in the NHL, statistically wise. Then they were going to go to Colorado, which was last night, and then they have one more game left. So a very daunting task for a team that maybe showed you indications, if I went back to the mindset around here last Wednesday, that was at that point in time showing you small signs that maybe
glimmer
of hope,
slice,
right? But
just like
very
this little slice of light that's on my shoulder.
Exactly, that's coming through the shades here.
Yes,
We'll have to
little
talk.
Slice of hope.
We'll have to talk to the Undefeated Media maintenance staff maybe after the show about that. I didn't realize that, but it like highlights your shirt.
The hope is on me.
It highlights your shirt, which I like. So they played the Devils last week, and I'm going to be honest when I say this, because I always am honest when I say things. And I said this on the Instagram, like post-game recap story thing that I do for people sometimes after the game, that it probably was the best game the Rangers played all season. It really was. And it was not just because Well, they beat a good team in the Devils, and you know how I hate the Devils, but I also have a lot of respect for them. I think they're a very good team. So it wasn't just because they beat them, but it was the way to me that they beat them. They played a very complete game. The penalty killing didn't let anything up. They were able to neutralize the speed of the Devils through the neutral zone, which is the one thing that when they play the Devils the last few years, minus last year where the Rangers owned the Devils, it is the one thing that kills them. And it killed them in the 2 games they played in December versus the Devils. And it was a big reason why the Devils came back 2 years ago in the playoffs and beat the Rangers in 7 was their speed. So the Rangers were able to neutralize it. They played very well. Igor in his first game back played great. And Sam Carrick wins the game in overtime. I'm not even going to focus. I was going to say something about the game, and I'm not. So just a very good game, a good win as you get ready to go out west to play Vegas.
Yeah.
Now, the Vegas game on Saturday, if you've watched us before, and it happened earlier in the season, I was I mentioned this, I think it was in October when they played out in Seattle and Vancouver. There was, no, I'm sorry, it was November. They played in Calgary on a Tuesday night, and it was Tuesday night at 10.
Mm-hmm.
A weeknight 10 o'clock game, we all know, like, I'm older now because we just talked about it, is the worst. Like, I can't stand late night games. If it's a Saturday night late night game, which it was the other day, it's more tolerable. So the Vegas game to me was a grinded out kind of game. It wasn't the game the Rangers would ideally like to play in the DNA that the Rangers have on their team. But I will say this, they were able to go toe for toe with arguably, statistically, the best team in the NHL and get a win in their barn. So it's hard to say anything negative. It was good to see Adam Edstrom get the game winner in that game as well. And let's not get started, because this was the other thing that drove me nuts, was Matt Rempe on the assist on the game winning goal. I'm not really sure Matt Rempe meant to do what happened,
Insanity, dude.
but it ended up happening.
Wow.
So let me illustrate a point, because it's going to be something we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, because we have a new segment we're doing on MYPB for Ranger fans that it's going to be a weekly segment from now until like March 2nd. There's a little hint as to what it's probably about. But I want to say something, that you had 2 really good wins versus the Devils on Thursday, Vegas on Saturday. Who were, because they both were 1-goal games, who were your 2 game-winning goal scorers? Sam Carrick on Thursday and Adam Edstrom on Saturday. So last night in Colorado, I thought, and a lot of people are saying this morning, and I would agree with it if this is your assessment of the game. We're in agreement. I thought the Rangers played really well. Again, you're going up against a very good team that's, in their barn out west. And to get a point, I would have signed for that going into the game for sure. What's frustrating is that you're in a position where you have the lead with under 2 minutes left, and you surrender the extra point. And what is a little bit more infuriating about it is now that if the Rangers are going to make a run, and we'll talk in a minute if we think they are at this point in time or not, but if you are of the mindset, and you're welcome to be, that the Rangers are going to make a run and go for the wild card, right? You have to agree that every point is at a premium. Every point counts, because if you look historically in the NHL, every year when the season ends, the last team that gets in barely. Like, every point matters. So you don't like the fact that you had a goal, you were up a goal with 2 minutes left and gave up the extra point. Plus, you also had a power play in overtime, and you also had Mika Zibanejad, for the second out of the last 3 games, have a breakaway in overtime that he missed. I don't get excited. Can I say, and I feel bad saying this, and this is stupid, and I know that, but I'm just going to say it because I
get excited when Mika has a
breakaway. I don't.
That's exactly what you were going to say.
Yeah, last Thursday when they played the Devils and he had the breakaway in overtime, and I see some of the comments about Will Borgen. We'll get to him. He is on the sheet to talk about today, Sean. I promise you. When Mika was on if somebody's on a breakaway in overtime and it's my team, right? It's like, game is on your stick. That's what they call it. The game is on his stick. He's got a breakaway. The game is on his stick. He puts the puck in the net. The game is over. The game is on his stick. Mika went on a breakaway last week, and I was watching the game in our room because we have this MSG situation where I have like a stick. So now only one TV works, and my kids are annoyed they don't get in the room. So I have to watch it in my room. I didn't even get excited. Like, B-Rock, were you watching that game? When you saw Mika, now B-Rock is a Devil fan, for those of you that are new around here. When you saw Mika on the breakaway, were you worried, or you were in your mind, like, yeah, it's Mika? You felt great. Yeah. That's like me. I didn't feel good about it.
On his breakaway, did he like make a move, or he just go
No.
for a slap shot like 5 feet out?
No. So last week, if I remember correct, I know what happened last night. I'm pretty sure he didn't even get the shot on net. He made a deke to his backhand and shot wide, which is remarkably horrendous, because how you have a shot in overtime on a breakaway that doesn't even end up going on goal, that's not easy to do. I mean, it's really not. So then last night he comes in on a breakaway, and maybe what happened, I'll defend him a little bit here. In his head, and things happen fast, he's probably thinking about what happened last week and chooses last night to do no move and basically just shoot into the glove of Mackenzie Blackwood. And how is Mackenzie Blackwood still in the league is beyond me, because I remember what happened with him in New Jersey. But I know he's doing well out there, so credit to him. So anyway, Mika Zibanejad breakaway doesn't work. So when you're in that position where you have the ability to get the extra point when you need it, you got to get it. And Igor also should have controlled the rebound on the game tying goal. And the other thing that I will mention, that if you like 3-on-3 overtime, which I am a huge proponent of, I love it. Like, I think 3-on-3 overtime is great. I'll watch. I don't care if there's two horrendous Western Conference teams playing and I see it on TV and it's going to 3-on-3 overtime, I will turn it on. The key always in overtime, for those of you that do not know this, and I would think that you probably do by now. Okay. The key in overtime is the word possession. You need to possess the puck. And before
score the puck.
Thank you, doctor. Before the Rangers got scored on last night, within 15 seconds, there were multiple chances of them to regain possession. And I believe even behind the net, they had it temporarily and gave it back. And that is what cannot happen.
Can't have it happen.
Boys and girls in overtime. So the Rangers lose last night. They go to Utah tomorrow. They now, in the 7 games in the new year of 2025, you're going to faint when I tell you, if you know what this fan base has been through, is that they are 4-1-2 in their last 7 games, which is where this team has been, which equates to, if I do some simple math, you could have had in the year 2025 to date a total of 14 points, and you have a total of 10. That is not awful, right? It's not terrible.
True.
Now, if I look at the bigger picture, because the bigger picture is really what matters here.
Yes.
Is that they are 6 points behind Boston right now for the final wild card spot. But they have 3 games in hand. So they played 3 less games than the Bruins. So they are actually 3 games behind the last wild card spot, but they have 3 games more to play.
So, dumb question of the day.
There are no dumb questions.
I'm looking at the Metropolitan Division. How many teams from the division get?
It's conference based. So the top 3 in the Metro and Atlantic make it.
Okay.
And then the next 2 teams between those 2 divisions that have the highest point total. So
Boston. We're aiming for Boston.
Right here. Boston's at 49 points at the moment, and the Rangers are at 43. So I am guilty of this.
Yeah.
I will say guilty as charged.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, it might be tiebreaker. Chris is telling me Boston has the first wild card. I believe they're tied with 49 points, if I'm not mistaken. So whoever they're tied with maybe has the tiebreaker, but I believe they are 6 points out of the last spot, whether it's Boston or whoever they're tied with. And it's someone that they're tied with in their own division. I did look at it this morning. All right.
Lightning.
So
Tampa Bay.
We all post, if you follow us on Instagram.
Yes.
There's a lot of Ranger pages that we all kind of repost.
Play along with.
Yeah, we all play along. We all get along.
Yeah,
we all
play
talk
in the sandbox.
We all talk on the side on
Play in the
DM. We are all like, friendly with each other. And in the last 2 weeks, the Rangers have been better. So the question is that we get asked all the time is, are the Rangers back? NYR Blue Crew, which is a page that I love, one of the better Ranger pages out there, post a picture after Rangers win with, I believe it's the Simpsons writing on the chalkboard like he's in punishment. I will not say that the NYR are so bad, something like that. So that is the question that everyone asks me. most question I get these days.
First thing I said this morning.
And it's
we
the
said we're
first
going to
thing.
wait for the show.
And it's the first thing that is true. You did say in our pre-show kind of talk here is, are the Rangers back? I'm going to give you my answer only because, not because I want to, but because you're asking. And if multiple people ask, I feel like I need to tell you my opinion if you're going to ask. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
They are, well, let me give you the reasons why I'm coming to my conclusion, and then I'll let you decipher why. Let's name some players. Let's do Chris.
We got rid of them all.
Chris, who is in the chat,
Yeah.
is going to like me because Chris is a very statistical driven man.
Yeah.
Right. And he loves stats.
Yeah.
I do too. Stats count. But you can always debate how important the stats are. Right.
True.
Like, how important are the stats? So we're going to get very statistical to give you my answer.
I like it.
I'm going to name you 4 New York Ranger players.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And before I name them, the only thing I want you to keep in mind is what I said about 10 minutes ago. And I said something. I didn't put an asterisk next to it. So if you were listening, you heard it. I didn't bold it, but I'm going to say it again.
Okay.
The last 2 games
games.
I'm sorry, not last night. The last 2 of 3 games, so the last 2 wins versus the Devils and the Vegas Golden Knights, the game-winning goals were scored by Sam Carrick and Adam Edstrom. Okay? Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So now let's talk some stats, where we are on January 15th with the New York Rangers team.
Okay.
Artemi Panarin has 17 goals. He is tied right now for 34th in the league in goals. He is 45 points. He is tied for 26th in the league. Now, so he has 45 points. If I times it by 2, because we're really basically a game or 2 away from the halfway part of the season, he is on pace for 90 points. Last year, he had 120 points. So that's a pretty big drop-off, right? Alexis Lafreniere.
Yes.
At 11 goals so
Used
far.
Used to be our top 5-on-5.
Yes, goal scorer. Look at you.
Yes,
yes, very good. Very good. He has 11 goals.
Yes.
He is tied with his goal total for 120th in the NHL in goals. He has 24 points. He has so little points that 150 other players in the NHL are ahead of him in point totals. He had 57 points last year. Now, if I use the same math, 24 times 2, same equation. Thanks. My wife is the math teacher, not me. If I take that 24 times it by formula, 2, 48. Yep. So a drop off from 57 points to 48 is not astronomical, but it's still, knowing what we saw in the playoffs, it's frustrating, right? So that's that. So I've given you 2 stats on Panarin and Lafreniere. If that doesn't answer the question for you or tell you where I think we're heading, I'm going to answer it with the next 2. You ready?
Yeah.
Mika Zibanejad, breakaway overtime master himself, has 8 goals this year. There's 150 plus, not 150, 150 plus other players in the NHL right now that have more goals than him. He has 27 total points, which are tied for 127th in the league. Last year, he had 72 points. That is a big drop-off.
That is a pretty big drop-off.
Now, are you ready for the worst drop-off you were going to get all day?
Yeah.
You're ready.
Yeah.
And people are saying this in the chat, and I get it. And why don't we pull up Scud's comment, 3 up, which is anybody else ready to say goodbye to Kreider? Now, I'm not answering that question yes or no at the moment.
You're going to fill out this new
equation? But I'm going to give you a new equation on Kreider. Chris Kreider this year has 13 goals. He is tied for 82nd in the league. As you know, as hockey fans, points are always goals plus assists. So let's do some simple, I don't know if this is algebra, pre-algebra, I'll ask my wife, or just maybe first grade math. If he has, you're paying attention, I'm testing you here, okay? He has 15 total points.
Should I get my calculator?
Nope. He has 15 total points.
He's got 15 total points.
He has 13 goals. How many assists does he have?
He's got 15 total points.
Right. And 13
goals.
Right.
So then he's got 2 assists.
Correct.
Yes.
He has 2 assists.
Yes.
For Chris Kreider.
Yes.
Who has 15 points on the year, which takes us to a total of last year he had 75 points. Right now, he is on pace
Mm-hmm.
to not even have half of that. He's on pace to have 30 points. So
Yes.
I'm not trying to laugh, but it is kind of funny. So when we talk about are the Rangers back, let me go back to what I said a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
If these players are going to perform at this level,
Mm-hmm.
do you have confidence that Sam Carricks of the world, the Adam Edstroms of the world, and some of these other players can carry this team to overcome a deficit, which is where you are right now
Yes.
in the standings?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're going to tell me that you have to count on players other than the aforementioned 4 players I just gave you, the Rangers are not back. They have too many problems. So at some point, Panarin, Lafreniere, Zibanejad, Kreider they have to carry the team.
Yeah.
How in the world would you make up a deficit of points relying on some of these other players?
So, but last year was President's Cup numbers.
Trophy, yep.
Yes, that like that the numbers correlated to being the best in the league, right? So now we just need to beat the Bruins. So, and they might not be back to the caliber that we need them to play to win a Stanley Cup. We just need them to figure it out to get even at playoff spots. Like right now, like beginning of the season, we would say Stanley Cup or bust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're like wild card, please.
To me, again, there's nobody on this planet that wants to be wrong when I say what I say more than me, right?
Yeah.
For fan base, always paramount, right? But I'm
Mhm.
also a season ticket holder. Trust me, I want them to make the playoffs. I do.
Mhm.
I just don't see it happening still. They have been better in the last couple of weeks. Now, if you want to be the glass is half full
That's what I'm
person,
trying to be. Yeah.
which is again cool. Like
Trying.
if you wanted to debate me that the Rangers are back, and I could
Mhm.
see that by some of the comments, most people are not taking on that debate. But if you want to debate me, here is your reason why. Here's one of the things you're going to tell me. Once they get through Utah,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to pull this up to make sure I am exactly accurate, although I know I could do this in my head. They play Utah tomorrow night.
Mhm.
They're going to have a little segment here in their schedule where not only are you playing not the top teams,
Mhm.
but you're also playing teams that you're chasing. Columbus, who Chris is now telling me is actually the team in the last wild card spot, comes to the Garden Saturday night. I'm actually planning to be there Saturday night. So if you're in the building on Saturday night, then you can find us. You can do food reviews with us if you'd like. All right. So Columbus comes in Saturday. You have an opportunity there to make up points. You play the Canadians, also kind of in the same realm as you. You have an opportunity Sunday night, and the Canadians are still not that good. You should be beating them. That's on Sunday. You have Ottawa, who's also right in that wild card mix, coming into the Garden on Tuesday. You have the Flyers on Thursday coming into the Garden. If you can go on some sort of run here in the next, I want to say like week, we can talk. Until I see that, because if you don't do it there against teams that you're having to compete against, beyond that, here's where your schedule goes. You then have the Avalanche coming in. The Avalanche are really good. The Hurricanes come into MSG, and they almost always win in the regular season at MSG. We know this. Then the Rangers play the Bruins again, the Vegas again, Boston again, and then they kind of go into this Four Nations break after that. So if you're going to tell me, and again, it's fine that you want to. I can live with it, and I want you to be right, and I want me to be wrong. But if you're going to have not any chance, but if you're going to increase the odds that the Rangers are back, end quotes, then you better do well here in the next 5 games. At Utah tomorrow, but really it's the next 4 to me. It's Columbus at home Saturday, in Montreal on Sunday, home against Ottawa on Tuesday, home against the Flyers on Thursday.
So I got a question for you.
Yes.
If we were to ignore and forget about this, the terrible play we've had the last like 2 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were to look at this and put and plug into our equation the last 2 weeks or week or two, the caliber of gameplay and the way the team is performing today, is that good enough if it was to be, because we're coming up to the halfway mark of the season. I'm not saying we're back, but are we good? Is the level of game play now today good enough to make it into the playoffs? Like, are we gonna, like, if
Would
we
you
can,
do
if we
so
keep
if you
playing
made
the
it?
same way we playing
Can I
today, can we beat Boston?
can I rephrase your question?
Please,
Tell me if I'm
please rephrase
saying
it.
if the Rangers got in the playoffs today with the way that they're playing right now, are they capable of winning in the playoffs?
No. So are we, the way we performed in this last
Yes.
week is that team that you've seen
Mm-hmm.
is a better team that can beat out Boston for
Yes,
that wild card
it
spot.
is.
So
But
if they keep staying in this momentum, I'm not saying we're going to win a Stanley Cup, but we can get, if we just stay like we are today, we can maybe possibly make the playoffs.
You could. But what you're saying is, what you're assuming there is that you're going to stay at this pace.
Yeah.
And I still think there's a lot of issues here that is going on.
Yeah.
That, look, it's been great that they're 4-1-2 in the last 7
Mhm.
games. We would have signed for that last month.
Mm-hmm.
But as Ranger fan Red is saying on Instagram, next week we'll determine where we go.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens if we make it first round and out? Probably. I will say this,
Yeah.
and this is getting ahead. I'm going to answer your question, Ranger fan Red, on Instagram live.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, and I this is getting way ahead. So I'm not saying this just Ranger related. I'm saying this just general. Whatever team, if the Capitals end up winning the Metropolitan Division
Mm-hmm.
and they're 7 points clear of the top team in the Atlantic Division, that would give the Capitals the 1 seed
Mm-hmm.
overall, and therefore they would play the second wild card like the last team to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So that Capital, and this is no disrespect to the Capitals. Matter of fact, I have reasons in some ways that my family that I quasi root for them if they're not playing the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
The Capitals could lose in the first round. I mean, I don't know that if you told me right now the Rangers played the Capitals and you put a gun to my head and I had to make a prediction who was going to win the series,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably tell you the Capitals. However, I would
Wouldn't
tell
be
you
a
it would
landslide.
I wouldn't be a landslide.
Going to
No,
game 6
because
or
you'd have the goaltending advantage,
Mhm.
right? Igor could win that series. You have players that if they want to show up, and Panarin doesn't usually show up in the playoffs. We know that. You're welcome, Chris, who's watching, because Chris loves to point that out 100 times a day to me. But I don't know. I guess, Chris, let's put up Chris's question, the second one, which is, here's the real question. What do you believe the Rangers are? Are they this team or the team that took 2 months off? That's actually the
There you go.
question. That
There you
right
go.
that
That's
right
more
there.
eloquent than my babbling.
Yeah. But the way that Chris just asked this is really the question of the day, or the
Mhm.
question of the week, or the
Mhm.
question of the time right now, whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eminem this morning.
Yeah.
I'm
The
driving my
musician.
I'm driving. I'm driving.
Lose Yourself got you jacked up this morning.
I'm driving my son to school
Yeah.
this morning.
You let your son listen to Eminem?
There's a lot of things we let him do that maybe we shouldn't. But he was on the iPad in the back seat and
Okay.
somehow figured out a way. I still don't know how he did this. I had my phone on Spotify plugged into my car,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden it was taken over by his music and his iPad. I don't know how that happened.
Mhm.
Anyway, he was playing Eminem, and he was playing what's the one shot
Lose yourself,
right? And it made me think of the NHL playoffs because that was a song in a commercial. But anyway, the question is, will the real Slim Shady, will the real New York Rangers please stand up? Please stand up. That's the question.
Mhm.
Who is which is the real team? Is it the 4-1-2 team we've seen the last 7 games? And if it is, then you know what? You can stay at this pace, make the playoffs, and you never know in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Look, the Florida Panthers, who New York Ranger fans know really well, 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago,
Mhm.
made the playoffs on the last day of the season. They beat the President's Cup winning Boston Bruins in the first round
Mhm.
and went to the Stanley Cup Finals to lose to the Vegas Golden Knights. So can it happen if you get in? Of course. We'll support. Obviously, we would be locked in if it's the playoffs. But I just think there's too many things that have gone on for them to overcome a 5-point deficit to catch Columbus. And Chris, I see mathematically now what I did. Yes. They're at 48 points. Now, that only
Mhm.
puts more of an emphasis on, because I am going Saturday night, the game Saturday night at home versus Columbus. Because if you're down 5 points to them, you leave that night, you're either
Yeah,
down 7
it's
or
a
you're
big
down 3.
swing,
That's a
yeah.
big swing. So now Saturday night is a big game.
Every time
So
you play them is a
if
big
you're
game.
in the Garden Saturday night, let me know. I will.
That's a playoff
there.
game. That's a playoff game right there.
I don't know I'd go that far, but I understand where your logic is. So new segment we're gonna do here
All
every
right.
week. As
This
we
is breaking live. I don't even know what you're about to say.
you don't know? Are you nervous?
A little bit.
I can see you're
A
shaking
little
over
bit.
there a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
You're a little
Shaking.
nervous. Okay. New segment for MYPB. And we're gonna ask this question every week
Yeah.
between now and the trade deadline. I believe the
Who we get
NHL
rid of next?
No, I believe the NHL deadline is usually March 2nd. It is this year. Let's see. It is, let me look it up. It is March 7th. Okay, so
Okay.
we have a little extra time. So March 7th is the deadline. Are the Rangers at this point in time? So the question is now being asked as January 15th. At this point in time, are the New York Rangers buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? You can put your answers in the
Yeah.
chat.
Buyers or sellers? So every week we're gonna have a segment saying, "Are we a buyer or seller?"
Yes,
Nice.
because you'll get a better indication. Is this a flash in the pan, what we've seen in the last 2 weeks? Meaning if they're not doing well, you're going to be sellers. Or if you believe and you continue to see the team do well, you may sit there and say you want to buy. Now, Sean is saying on Instagram both. And I'm going to actually, I don't know, Sean, where you're going with this, but I'm going to tell you why you might be right. But let's look at some other comments. Sellers, a conservative seller, Paul on YouTube seller, Coffee Sports Collectible seller, NYRKZB seller, Joe Medema buyers as of now. Okay, here's why I'm going to go. I want to go back to Sean's comment. Okay, and Chris and I had this discussion off the air last night. And I like Emma's thought, got to be buyers. You can't accept any losing in New York. So here's why Sean may be right. I am fine with, I'm not even going to take that comment with who it's from. Anyway, that as if you're watching on YouTube, you could see it. Anyway, that
you can't say you won't get let back in the building.
No, I won't. I won't. Here's why Sean may be right, and Broadway Blue Shirts is saying both also. If I can sell someone right now, a short-term sell, and sell someone that is going to help another team and sell right now that a piece that I don't need, I'm fine with being a seller. But here's where I might be a buyer also. I know that next year I have Igor Shesterkin. I know I have probably most of the core back, which may not be a good thing, but I'm going to have another chance at it, another spin of the Wheel of Fortune wheel, right? If I can buy something somehow cheap that may not be something that appreciates right now, but appreciates in a year or two, I'm okay with that. But I'm not okay with doing a big buy to make a run. Like what I wouldn't tell you right now that they should be doing would go back 2 years ago where Chris Drury said, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to get Tarasenko and Kane, who are both rentals, signifying that we are literally going for it this year. I'm not doing any of that right now. Now, again, I'm giving you that answer as of January 15th. That can change.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
I think anytime you have Igor and net, you should be more of a buyer's mindset. Like, you know what I mean? You just signed him to a hefty contract.
You can be a different.
You're going to take a year or two off.
There's different types of buying. Are you buying for now or are you buying for the future? So I'm going to answer because
the middle gray area.
Okay, so again, we're going to handle this question now every week between now and March 7th. And March 7th, I have to look and see what day of the week it is. But if it's me, unless it's a buy that I can do in terms of like a longer term buy, like not something that helps me now, but helps me in the future, on Friday, March 7th, I might do it.
Yeah. I think you're buying to maybe salvage the season, but you're not buying to win the Stanley Cup. Like you're not looking for that one piece that think like your super star that's going to cost you a ton of money.
Yeah.
You might not even make the playoffs.
Now for those of you on Instagram, this is New York. We're not sellers. This isn't 2018. I get it. I understand because your I would think your point of view is coming in and saying to yourself, hey, we still have Igor. Jeff just said Florida made the playoffs on the last day, went all the way to the Stanley Cup. Igor can get hot. I get it. I just think there's a responsible way to buy, and this is not the year you're buying rentals because the odds are showing you that it's not impossible, but it's not as probable. We'll pull up Chris's comment, and that is you have to break the cycle of NYR and not be afraid to take a step back for one season. Every move should be based on long-term success. I'm kind of, for the most part, in agreement with Chris there. I think Chris said it very well. And Chris and I, as we all know, don't agree very much. So I think it's like, newsworthy news. But I will put up Paul's comment, but is buying to end up with a first-round exit really worth it instead of a long-term rebuild? And that right there is also why you buy the right way. You never know. I mean, I'm not saying anything here, breaking news. This is stupid, but you never know. Obviously, when you make the playoffs, you could go in as a low seed, but you could go far. But I'm going to play the odds and say right now, this is not the sort of year you're buying a rental. Absolutely not. You can buy a long-term thing. So the Rangers tomorrow night in Utah finish the West Coast road trip. They are home Saturday night again. I will be there Saturday night. They play Columbus, which is now a very important game. If you're on the train of the glass half full, I'm optimistic, and I'll see you at a playoff game in April. And we also then they go to Montreal back to back. So they'll be up there on Sunday night. I think Quick plays tomorrow night. I think Igor plays Saturday night against Columbus would be the play. And then Quick probably plays back to back in Montreal. And then they're home on Tuesday versus Ottawa, which will be Igor. And then home, although we'll be back before then next Thursday versus the Flyers. So you have a chance here in the next week to make up some ground on the teams that you are chasing and are also in between you and the team that you are chasing. So
Saturday, I feel like Saturday is one of the bigger games. It's most points you can swing.
Yes, it is. That is very true.
Yeah.
We shall see on Saturday. If anyone has, and also because you guys are doing a good job with the chat on both Instagram and YouTube, I'm torn on a non-hockey related question, but it's a Ranger thing. These food reviews that we do. We talked a little bit before about where we should do a review. We've gotten, like, if you look at the comments on the ones that have been out, which is Raising Cane's and Insomnia Cookies, like, people put in the comments, you got to go to this one, you got to go to this one. I have no idea how to pick. So if there's one that you guys really think is a better one to review than others,
let's do it like this. Put in the comments section. We'll clip this. Put in the comments section. When you watch the Ranger game, what is the best food to accompany that experience? Whether you're getting a takeout, whether you're going there.
No, we don't have time to eat with my crew. It's got to be takeout.
Yeah.
I want to
sit on your couch and having delicious food. What food are you eating while you're watching the Rangers do their thing?
We'll take a good question before we leave the Rangers from NYRKZB. I just want to know, how does the altitude affect the Rangers more than it affects the Avalanche? Because they did play in Denver last night. And do they take oxygen when they go back to the locker room between periods? So any game in Denver, even in the Broncos, or even Colorado Rockies, in any of the sports, the Mile High City is so high that athletes, obviously, the way you breathe in. Matter of fact, I was in Denver for a work trip a couple of years ago, and I felt like, I didn't know if it was jet lag or what, but like it took a little while to adjust. I would assume there's they have some protocol, and they've got to have some sort of oxygen situation for the team in the locker room, which they do not probably have to that extent in the 31 other arenas in the league. So that is it for the Rangers. Let's talk a little NFL playoffs. What a terrible weekend of games.
Yeah.
There were 6 games.
We both lose.
Well, there were 6 games. The only one that really was close was the Sunday night Commanders and Buccaneers game. Right. Other than that, there really wasn't a lot of stuff that was close. And if you look at the lines for this weekend, Vegas is telling you this weekend is not much better. Because now this normally, Mike Francesa used to say this. I don't know why I remember this, but he used to say that the divisional weekend of football, which is where we are this week, is the best weekend of games this week. I'm not sure I would agree when I see that the Kansas City Chiefs are -8.5, the Lions are -9.5, the Eagles are -6, and then you have the Bills as real. I mean, it's almost a pick 'em.
That's your best game.
Oh God, that flipped. Now the Bills are getting points now. That flipped. Other than the Bills and Ravens, none of these games are close.
Yeah, the Bills is the best game. The Lion game, it will be interesting. I don't think the Chiefs are going to have much of a problem with the Texans. And unfortunately, the Vikings couldn't beat the Rams, and they kind of, I don't know, they kind of dropped the ball on that one. So now the Rams will be playing Philadelphia, which I don't see that being that difficult. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think Saturday you have Houston and Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I keep hearing, in terms of if you want to sell me on that the Chiefs aren't going to win, is that the Chiefs have such a long layoff. They haven't played in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand Houston's defense was really good last week against the Chargers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just hard. I mean, Kansas City's won it the last 2 years. They've
Yeah.
had a bye. They have home field. CJ Stroud hasn't even been that good. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions and Commanders. Now, the only thing I will say here is that the line seems high. I mean, I think Detroit wins, but 9.5 is a lot of points. Oh, Chris is asking who won our.
That's what I'm trying to
I'm trying to
calculate.
remember who won. No,
I was saying that the Eagles were going to lose.
right. I
was
had that.
picking Green Bay.
There
So
was
you had that.
There was one other game that it was the
Was
Saturday.
the Steelers? I was
Yes.
thinking the Steelers
Yeah, I
were
won.
going to.
I won the bet. Yeah.
You won the bet.
Okay.
What
Thank
was
you.
the bet? What was
I
your
get
winnings?
TS Ma.
All right, you got it.
However, I'm not sure as we talked about it's going to be today because I literally ate about 75,000 calories last night, and then I went to I was so full, and then my daughter was like, "Let's go to Crumble." And I was like, "Okay, I won't get anything. That's fine." And then 2 cookies later, there I am. So I don't know if today's the day to cash in. Anyway,
Let's have another round. Let's do another round.
We'll get to it in a minute. That's fine. We can do double or nothing. So I'm
Ooh.
taking the Chiefs. I'm taking the Lions. However, it's a lot of points. Like somehow I would like to think that Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels can keep that closer than 9.5. The Rams and the Eagles, I would love somehow. All I'm really rooting for right now, my number one request of anything is what?
Eagles lose.
To lose. Just don't let the Eagles win the Super Bowl. That is my number one request. Now, my second request is for my wife. I want the Bills to win it for her, but I need the Eagles to lose. So, could the Rams beat them? Probably
I don't know.
not.
They were the defensive line was destroying the Vikings.
Yes, but the Vikings, and I don't want to get on you because I know you're defensive of him. Sam Darnold was really bad. Like I understand the Rams played well, but Sam Darnold was like really bad. So I'm gonna take the Eagles there, and then the last game is the best game of the weekend, and of course they make it the last game, which is Sunday at 6:30 from Western New York. The Ravens at the Bills. You know what? I'm gonna. If you're making me pick a team here, Lamar's had a great year. I understand Josh Allen's had a good year. The Bills, something always goes
race
wrong.
for the MVP.
But something always goes wrong with the Bills. Like always, right? It's hard. I want the Bills to win, but and I see the line is switched because the Bills opened as -1.5. They're now +1.5, which really is a 3-point swing if you think about it. So the betting line, although the money line is still pretty even, is a little bit trending towards Baltimore. I'm going to take Baltimore. So I'm going to say 3 non-upsets: Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, and then
those are
Baltimore.
your bets, right? That you're playing with the spread. Those are your bets.
Yeah.
Do you want to change? Because I think our bet should be straight up money line, picking your team to win.
I think that's fine. Straight up.
So do you
go ahead? So I
same.
Is there
anything you would change there?
Honestly, the only game that is debatable, I think would be the Ravens and the Bills. Unless you're going to pick, I would take the Chiefs, Lions, and Eagles. Is there somewhere there you would disagree? Want to go a different direction?
Well, yeah. I mean, but are you going spread with the Bills game? You're picking Ravens straight up.
I'm picking Ravens.
Okay, so that's where we disagree.
You're taking the Bills?
100%.
Okay.
I feel like the same thing that you're saying about the Bills. I feel like the Ravens also sometimes don't connect the dots. That they're a little on different pages sometimes, and they're
So why don't we do double or nothing?
Double or nothing
on our Chinese food bet. If the Bills win, we are even. You've won.
Everything else is the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make a difference, but I want the Rams to beat the Eagles, so I'm making my picks emotionally.
Okay, so then we got to switch it up because if you're going to pick the Rams, that's fine. So you know what? We'll just see who does better.
Yeah.
So we have 2 games different. We agree on the Saturday games.
Lions are going to be
right. Lions and Chiefs.
That's going to be I think that might be a decent game.
And then on Sunday, I have the Ravens and the Eagles. You have the Rams
I'm
and
going
the
Rams.
Bills. Okay.
I would love that upset. I'm going Bills. I don't see a world where the Texans beat the Chiefs. I think that the Commanders might give the Lions a little run for the money, but I don't see them
9.5 is a
beating
lot.
it. Yeah.
It's a lot. Where's the nickname Dougie Sticks come from? Are you a drummer?
From Jeff.
Yeah. Actually,
and
I
all
made
my
it up.
lacrosse sticks.
I made it up. Puck Rock Rangers is asking on Instagram. I actually made it up for him, like a hockey stick, Dougie stick.
Yeah.
Back in before episode number 1, actually,
Really?
in the first day we
Dougie
met.
Sticks.
So, let's see. Is it okay? Now we're talking some football questions. Before we go, I'm gonna ask B-Rock a question. Because we're talking about football. I just thought of this. The Jets head coach, right? I had been saying for a while, for months, that they need to get Mike Vrabel. They have to get Mike Vrabel. He was, he's the hot coaching commodity of the year. Like every year's crop of coaches available has like one that's kind of creme de la creme and rises to the top. And the Jets last week, I think it was a week ago Friday, interviewed Mike Vrabel, came in for a formal interview. And that, yes, it was the Friday, because 2 days later, the Patriots blew the number 1 pick and lost. And I knew, this is what I want to ask B-Rock. I knew the second that Sunday night, the report came out that Gerard Mayo was fired, that Vrabel was going to end up going there, and they were going to screw the Jets. Did you know this was was the right, because you're a Patriot fan, so I should say why I'm asking you this.
I wasn't expecting them to fire Mayo at least that soon. So after they did, I got to figure that they were making moves pretty soon after. So after I saw that they fired him, I kind of assumed that they were going to.
Like, I thought for sure, and they'll never say this, but I just figured like this was just another way that the Patriots screwed the Jets, right? Like, we're not going to let you get Mike Vrabel because he's a good coach and he's also a guy here. So we're going to go fire our coach and block you from getting him. And therefore the Jets don't get him. So
don't forget the Cowboys. They wait to the last minute. Don't let Mike McCarthy talk to anyone else and then fire him. Here's my question to you. If the Giants had the first pick, do you think there would be a possibility of Dion being the head coach of the Giants?
No, but I did see that he did talk to Jerry Jones yesterday with the Cowboys job. That's a weird hire. I like Dion. So I had a college roommate in college, one of my good friends, loved Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, most people don't know this, had a music career. Okay. There is a song that my roommate and I would sing in our apartment. No, it's called Must Be the Money by Dion. It's a great song. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm going to listen to it on Spotify. I haven't listened to it in years. But Dion would not be a good fit in Dallas, right? Working in that. And also, like, what are you inheriting there? You have Dak Prescott, or if you get rid of him, who's I don't know. Anyway, the Rangers, again, to recap, tomorrow in Utah, Saturday home versus Columbus, back on the road across the border in Canada, Sunday night in Montreal, and then home on Tuesday. We thank DraftKings for their sponsorship as always. We also thank the Bamboozle Project. Check them out, thebamboozleproject.com. Use promo code MYPB. Save yourself 20% off your total order. We will see you next week.